Hello, good morning. Hope you're well. Thank you for your company. I'm Ben Leo on The Late Show Live tonight.
Each of us must do our bit for the security of our country and the brightness of its future.
Breaking tonight, MPs are preparing to oust Rachel Reeves from the Treasury. Why? She's doing such a good job. But it's who they want to replace her with that will send shivers down your spine. Also, another one of our doctors or architects there, I think. A gun-toting illegal small-boat migrant who called for the death of all Jews is back on Britain's streets for Christmas. Very good. Plus,
this was inspired by a terrorist organisation, by ISIS.
I'll expose the jihadi island turning amateur Islamist extremists into killers and its disturbing link to the Bondi terrorists. And whilst we may not be live from Washington, D.C. tonight, I'm back in Blighty, we are still bringing you the stories America's talking about and that matter to Britain too, including this one.
Everybody knew this man. He was all over Palm Beach. He has photos with everybody. I mean, almost... there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have photos with him, so that's no big deal. I know nothing about it.
The fallout from the Epstein files is everywhere, but where's that so-called smoking gun that Democrats insisted would sink President Trump? Still looking for it. And in other news, the Prince of Wales passes a lesson on to his son beyond palace walls on a visit to a homeless shelter.
Well, this is a highly significant visit for Prince George because although he's a 12-year-old boy, he is also future king.
Hello, good morning. Hope you're well. Thank you for your company this morning. Breaking tonight, a Chancellor in crisis. But if you think Rachel Reeves is bad, just wait until you see who's lining up to replace her. Any guesses? It's been revealed Ed Miliband's allies are quietly spinning the turbines and sharpening the knives, plotting to blow Rachel Reeves out of the Treasury and install Britain's original Green zealot as Chancellor.
But am I tough enough? Hell yes, I'm tough enough.
Oh, dearie me, Ed Miliband. The man who's declared war on your energy bills is now eyeing up control of the entire economy. What could go wrong, eh? And some Labour MPs are even floating a joint leadership ticket. Miliband as Chancellor and backing someone else as leader. Now, could that be perhaps none other than the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting? There he is on the front page of The Observer tomorrow, later today on Sunday, who just so happens to have a splash on the front page of Britain's left-leaning newspaper. One Labour MP has told The Telegraph tonight that if the May local elections go badly for Labour, as they're expected to, MPs plan to use that failure as leverage to force change at the very top. And all this comes, of course, as Rachel Reeves today refused to rule out even more tax rises. Yes, she's not done. In fact, even her local pub has reportedly turned on her, banning the Chancellor outright, Peggy Mitchell style. You're barred, Reeves, blaming what they call crippling tax rises for pushing hospitality to the brink.
And I will support the Great British Pub through our new national licensing framework, encouraging councils to back our pubs and to back late-night venues with greater freedoms.
Yeah, well, that worked out well, didn't it? But, of course, as you might expect, an aide to Ed Miliband has tonight dismissed the whole thing as absolute nonsense, insisting he's entirely focused on making Sir Keir Starmer's government a success. Joining me now is my panel, political commentator Jonathan List, the founder of the Global Britain Centre, Aman Bogal, and the GB News superstar Leo Kerr. Good evening, panel. Welcome along. Good to see you in the flesh. Oh, goodness me, who to start with? Jonathan List. I know it's Christmas, but it feels like April Fool's, Ed Miliband eyeing up Reeves' job for Chancellor.
Well, you read the story and it says the Telegraph has been told. And I suppose I'd want to know who's told the Telegraph what's happening. Well, Miliband has flatly denied it, as I suppose you'd expect him to do. I don't know that. Look, I don't know Ed Miliband personally. I don't know what his personal ambitions are. Obviously, he tried to be leader once, and that didn't go so well for him. So I don't know if he's happy doing energy. Clearly, because Starmer is so weak, he can't get rid of Miliband because Miliband is one of the stalwarts of the soft Labour left. So I think that his job is pretty safe. In terms of sort of getting rid of Reeves and replacing her with Miliband, I think because now Reeves has become so embedded with Starmer, their fates are kind of bound together. So if Reeves were to go, that would make Starmer even more exposed. So I don't think that Reeves her job is unsafe while Starmer's still there. You know, who knows what's going to happen
in May, though.
Look, who knows what's going to happen in the years? We know, Ben, a lot can happen in the year, and a lot can happen in a month in British politics these days. But for the moment, I think that Miliband is a positive influence on the cabinet because he's a restraining influence on the government, and gives something
Hang on a
to.
minute. What does that mean? He's a restraining influence on the government.
Well, I suppose maybe not restraining, but he's someone that is pushing for some of the original pledges that the government made. Because if you look at what Starmer was saying in 2020 when he was campaigning for leader, and most of those pledges have been ditched. And some of the only pledges that are still there relate to the environment. And, you know, obviously net zero and sort of setting up Great British Energy and all that stuff. And
so you're basically saying Labour didn't act on any of their manifesto pledges, but instead did loads of stuff that wasn't in their manifesto.
They didn't Starmer ditched his leadership pledges to the Labour electorate, to the Labour Party membership after 2020. Absolutely. That's why the left is so angry about it.
Man, what do you make of Rachel Reeves being barred from her local? Deserved?
Well, more than deserved. I think she's probably barred from Britain by the end of May, by the looks of it. But the whole thing is, we were told when Keir Starmer became Prime Minister that they were going to put country before party. And right now, they're putting even factions before their own party, let alone their country. And this is simply not good enough. They're unfit for Britain because they're not putting the national interest first. They're not putting cost of living first, which is for ordinary people going up, up and up. And if we get Red Ed as Chancellor, well, I'm old enough to remember when he was trapezing around the country with his Edstone and his 10 pledges.
And his bacon sarnies. Yeah. I always think of Miliband every time I'm chomping into a bacon sarnie, and I'm like, don't do a Miliband, don't do a Miliband.
Well, that's the thing with Ed Miliband. He's got that plonkerism that's always going to be a millstone around his neck. He's never going to escape being the plonker of a party already heavy in plonkers. But it's funny, Starmer is so weak that he tried to fire Ed Miliband previously, and Ed Miliband was like, nah, don't think I'm going to go. And he stayed. He stayed. It was like a clash of some incredibly weak walruses. So that was insane. But Labour, I think, are lining up a pivot even further left because a lot of people are leaving Labour because they're like, well, why aren't we rabid communists like the Green Party? We need to fight reform by being exactly what Britain doesn't want. So I think there's a lot of pressure within Labour to go further left. And somebody like Ed Miliband is going to be perfect for that. Maybe Miliband and Rayner.
Oh yeah, or maybe get his brother back. And David Miliband's have some.
Well, he's not on the left.
He's making too much money in the charity NGO scam circuit. So
yeah. Well, yeah, indeed. I never quite understand people like Zach Polanski who say we're coming after Reform voters now. It's like, well, nobody from Reform or who vote for Reform is going to vote for Greens. So
you say that, but there is a quite interesting Corbyn to Farage pipeline that you see. There are some people who voted for both Corbyn in 2015 and are planning to vote for Farage because one thing that they have in common, and they're offering radical solutions. Obviously, very, very different people, but they're both outside the establishment. They've both been around for a long time by the time they reach that position to be getting votes. And a lot of people say we're fed up of what they see as the Union Party or whatever, and they want to give someone else a chance. Obviously, with Corbyn, it didn't work.
No, I see that.
But with Farage, it probably stands a better chance.
And also with Jezbollah, at least you know what he believes in. He's been consistent for decades, so at least you know. Same as Farage and Trump. Like, I don't agree with Corbyn, but at least he's got authenticity.
Jezbollah, that's so silly. Why? It's
because he had terrorists to tea at the Houses of Parliament. He invited terrorists to tea with them.
Hezbollah, he said.
Jonathan, let's be clear. He said, "My friends at Hezbollah."
He was. Look, I'm not defending everything that.
Did he or not?
I'm not defending everything Corbyn said. He said he didn't. I think he said the friends who are here or something.
Yeah.
I don't think that he would. I think that he's disavowed the terrorist organisations. Obviously, it's a crime to support Hezbollah in this country.
Well, probably why he disavowed them.
Don't need to tell me that.
It was a crime when it was a crime.
He probably stuck on. Oh, I'm only supporting the political wing as it was then at that time. I think.
Okay. Right, let's hear from Louise Mensch, the former Conservative MP who joins us live from New York. Louise, good evening. Nice to see you again. The vultures are circling Louise. Wes Streeting, front page of The Observer. Miliband briefing the Sunday Times. What's your take?
Look, my first take is that Ed Miliband, who clearly has leaked this himself, clearly does not think that he can take the actual Labour leadership from Keir Starmer. In that way, it's a bit of an admission of defeat. But I also wonder slightly if Rachel Reeves, who's had a bit of a rough time, has paid anybody to put this story into the papers. Because we've all had more than enough of Rachel Reeves, but if there's one man in Parliament who would be worse than Rachel Reeves, it is Ed Miliband. And I have to wonder if she's like planted this to take the heat off herself, because I cannot imagine the nightmare before Christmas that would be Ed Miliband as Chancellor of the Exchequer.
So I guess maybe a case of better the devil you know, the best of a bad bunch as far as Rachel Reeves is concerned. I mean, that's nothing to... It's pretty pathetic, really, isn't it, if that is indeed what she's up to?
Oh, absolutely. It would indeed be pathetic, but let's hope that even on the Labour benches, the choices aren't simply Reeves and Miliband. You know, I think a lot of people would trust Wes Streeting quite a bit more if he, for example, was in charge of this sort of thing.
Yeah. I was going to say, what are your thoughts on Wes Streeting? Because actually, you know, people won't like me for saying this. I think he's probably the most competent of the Labour cabinet. At least he comes on GB News. He fights his corner. He's quite articulate. He seems, you know, at least more than 10% human, which can't be said for Keir Starmer.
I think he's a moderate. You know, he's been fighting. I've got to know him on Twitter as it used to be when Corbyn was coming up and when he was just an activist in the Labour Party, and he was really trying hard to fight Jeremy Corbyn because we both believe that Corbyn hung out with very anti-Semitic people. He means what he says. He is authentic, and I think people recognise that when they look at Wes Streeting. I think he would be a pretty good Prime Minister, insofar as anybody on the left can be a good Prime Minister. I think he would be a moderate in the vein of Tony Blair, and he might be a lot more successful than Keir Starmer has been in getting his party behind him.
I hear you. My only concern with him immediately, I was quite disappointed in Streeting actually, is his refusal to stop the trial of puberty blockers for children. Yes. And that seems to be the blot on his copybook, Louise.
I completely agree, and it's actually quite surprising given that Wes Streeting was one of the people that has been pushing the trans agenda in the NHS to one side and saying, no, he's not going to do this and he's not going to do that, and discontinuing funding for these sorts of things. But this trial, which seems to be some kind of a hangover, he's already admitted that children cannot consent to this. And what he should do is just to have the guts to say no. And in a way, it is a test of leadership, which much so I like and admire him. I think he is slightly failing. He needs to say, not just say, oh, it's a bit dodgy, I'm not sure about it. Just say, no, I'm going to stop it. I'm the health secretary. I'm going to stop it. Children can't consent. That should be the end of the trial.
Yeah, and of course, this is an American-themed show, America and Britain, and it was just a few days ago, I think I was on the plane when I saw the Senate or Congress had voted through to completely ban puberty blockers, hormones for children, which was good to see, Louise.
It was indeed, and then even more important, President Trump, and this is one thing I totally support him on, has put out an executive order saying that hospitals that decide under their own state's laws to give what they call gender-affirming care, which actually I would call child abuse, puberty blockers, surgeries for children that are under the age of 18, that the federal government will no longer fund those hospitals. In effect, President Trump has stopped all transgender care for people under the age of 18 who are minors and can't consent. That is the practical effect of what he has done. And I think it's honestly a terrific piece of leadership.
Yeah, I think it's great. As I've always said, you know, if you're an adult and you want to do whatever you want to do, Arthur to Martha, whatever, do your boots. You're an adult, do what you want. Leave the children alone. And again, with many other things, I mean, the Trump administration can earn their fair share of criticism, fine, but they seem to be getting things done, and they have an ideology. That's the most important thing. You know what they believe in, and they just go for it and do it. And it means the likes of Dr. Helen Weberly, who came on The Late Show Live in Washington, D.C. some weeks ago. The interview went absolutely viral, tens of millions of views online. She'll be banned from setting up her business in the United States, which is great because for a while I was wondering, you know, after that interview went viral, I was thinking, why aren't the White House getting involved here? Surely they don't want Weberly targeting American children, but maybe it's because they knew this vote was coming. Louise, thank you so much. Great to see you again, and I think we're catching up again in the next hour or so. That's Louise Mensch, former Conservative MP. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Just briefly on that, a quick word on the Wes Streeting trans trial, trans kids.
Well, I think he's a hopeless health secretary.
You don't rate him as a politician?
Well, absolutely not. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, he's not that.
He nearly lost his seat last time to sectarian forces, and I think he's gone at the next election in any case.
And this puberty blockers trial, I mean, this, like, giving children drugs that block their puberty and sterilise them and lead to all kinds of health problems in later life, this doesn't seem like a, oh, should we try giving children cocaine? Should we try giving children heroin? Like, there are some things that are just, obviously not going to be great for kids.
Well, and I think they'd probably be better off taking those things than puberty blockers and cross hormones.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like, why do we need to do a trial to find out that, oh, yeah, no, all the documented osteoporosis and sterilisation and all of that stuff is an issue and isn't good for children?
Why has Wes Streeting done this with the puberty blockers trial?
But you lot should make up your minds. Either you support the Cass review or you don't. Hilary Cass, who you've used as a weapon to attack trans rights activists for the last few months, was absolutely clear that a clinical trial was needed to establish the efficacy of puberty blockers. She has welcomed this trial, but obviously when it comes to you people, you are always happy to jump on a bandwagon, except when it doesn't suit you, and then you say it's terrible. So, if you want to go with Hilary Cass, and you have been for the last few months, then accept what she said about this, and she said that it's necessary to establish how effective these trials are, and there are many, many children who are extremely gravely ill and have sort of mental problems, and they're a real risk that they could do harm to themselves.
Okay, can I ask you the same question?
On these puberty
Can I ask you the same question I asked Dr. Helen Webley? And I'm not being facetious; it's a serious question. You wouldn't go say to an anorexic child, "Yeah, you can have liposuction," would you? Because anorexia is a mental illness. I'd argue. Children who think they're transgender or born in the wrong body, or worse, told by demonic adults that there's a mistake with them. They were born wrong and there's a mistake. You wouldn't do the same with them, would you?
Anorexia is a disease that kills people. If is
transgenderism. You just said they kill themselves.
Well, they kill themselves. They're not allowed to.
Well, no, lots of transgender people kill themselves after transitioning.
Well, the vast, I don't know.
The rates of suicide are far higher.
I don't have those figures in front of me, but I think that the vast majority of those cases would be for children who are not allowed, or who face bullying, feel they're in the wrong gender, or are not allowed to see that through. Look,
in the vast majority of cases, puberty resolves these feelings in children.
We've always not true.
Gender has never been this binary, this absolute solid. We've always had David Bowie and Hulk Hogan and various kinds of man. Some dress effeminately, some act effeminately. It doesn't mean anything. People should be allowed to express themselves and be themselves without some ideologue coming along and saying, "Oh, you need to be pumped full of drugs. You need to be pumped full of drugs. You need to be sterilised." And to be honest, I'm at the point where yeah, just let them do it. It's left-wing parents. If they want to ruin their family, if they want to destroy themselves, let them do it.
But the kids don't know any better. He's not saying Bowie was trans. He's saying that.
No, he's not saying that.
He's saying the version of masculinity
is a completely separate issue. Yeah. Also, I don't think that we should have sort of rigid gender norms and roles either. Obviously, people should be allowed to be who they want to be, and some of those people feel that they are born in the wrong body. You might disagree with that, but you're not them.
But the question here is about children. Okay, this is about children. It's not about adults being allowed to be who they want to be. This is about children. Children should not be forced by the state or even encouraged by the state.
You are trying to force children. So no one's forcing children to take puberty blockers. These are children who are. These are children who want them.
They're being railroaded into it.
There's no evidence for saying that.
There's literal testimony.
There's so many rigorous.
There's testimony from children, adults who've gone through that. They get railroaded into it, cajoled into it. Like very few of them are, ever leave the pipeline.
That's a moral panic.
Okay, let's continue this in the next hour and 40 minutes or so. gbnews.com/your say. Let us know your thoughts on that, especially the vultures circling Wes Streeting. Would he make a good Prime Minister, Wes Streeting? Still ahead on The Late Show Live. I'll expose the training ground turning extremists into terrorists known as Jihadi Island. No, not Great Britain, somewhere else. But first...
We will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
Well, President Trump's critics were absolutely gagging to bring him down in the Epstein files, but has it actually been a win for him? And I know he's not featured in the latest trove of files, but why was he in that case, so defiant about releasing them in the first place? We'll be getting stuck into that next on The Late Show Live. Back in a tick.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Everybody knew this man. He was all over Palm Beach. He has photos with everybody. I mean, almost there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have photos with him. So that's no big deal. I know nothing about it.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live. That was President Trump there. The administration, of course, stateside, has released thousands of pages of documents from the so-called Epstein files. President Trump has faced intense scrutiny over the files, with those on the left particularly seemingly desperate. Actually, not just the left, even some of his own MAGA base, the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene, desperate for the fresh evidence to bring him down. Instead, the newly released files contain just 3 mentions of President Trump, far from the smoking gun, I guess, that many were hoping for. Former President Bill Clinton didn't come off so lightly, however, as he was photographed swimming with Ghislaine Maxwell and also, in a hot tub. I'm not sure if I want to see that picture, actually, of him in a hot tub again. And with a woman whose identity has been redacted. It is worth highlighting, of course, that there's no suggestion that anybody appearing in the photos has done anything wrong, and many of those who featured have denied any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein. So far from ending the president's career, has the release of the Epstein files been a win, maybe, for President Trump? Amal, what do you think?
Absolutely. I think this is exactly what the American people voted for the first time round, even when they voted for President Trump, is to drain the swamp. That is capital. That is DC.
So why was he so reluctant to release them then?
Well, I think...
Because he's in them. I mean...
Maybe he's had to fight a multi-billion-dollar, mainstream media cartel within the US and other globalist forces working against exactly what President Trump wanted to deliver. But the fact is that none of the Democrat presidents, be it Obama, be it Bill Clinton himself, ironically, wanted to release any of.
Because they're in it as well.
Jonathan, what are you looking so exasperated about?
The most pathetic thing I've ever heard. Honestly.
Why, is it not raining
it's Christmas.
They redacted 119 pages of the grand jury. Are you such a sycophant that you are such a partisan, that you cannot take a broad look at this and say they redacted almost all of it?
Jonathan,
Trump's not mentioned it.
That was just to protect.
Why Trump didn't want it because he's in.
No, Jonathan, that was.
Elon Musk said so. Elon Musk.
That was just to protect the identities of the victims. Do you not trust them?
119. Come on, you don't believe.
Do you
this.
think there's only 119 pages of this whole thing? Do you not think there's more to come out yet?
Well, I hope there is. That's why they redacted most of it. Well, look, if they released the entire trove with very, very minor redactions and they explained why they'd redacted it, and I'd say fine. Now you've seen it.
But this is exactly.
There are people on. Look, this is not a left-right issue. There are people on the Republicans' own side. Thomas Massey, Taylor Greene, etc., have been said this is not. These
Jonathan,
are not.
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Forget politics. Forget red, blue, Trump, whoever. You know, whatever. Forget that. From a logical perspective, and you're a very bright young man. From a logical perspective. Would any damning information on President Trump to do with Epstein not have come out by now? They tried to kill the guy, they impeached him, they indicted him 90-odd times on stupid charges. They did not want him to win the presidency again. Do you not think...
This is conspiracy theory talk. Conspiracy. Who's they? Man?
OK, forget that. Do you not think if somebody out there, the Democrats, they didn't want President Trump to win power again, do you not think by now... those Epstein files would have come out if there was anything incriminating President Trump. From a logical perspective.
Ben, I could ask you a question.
Yes or no?
Why did Trump have to be dragged kicking and screaming to release these? If Trump was
I'll answer that question, then you answer my question.
I don't know why the Democrats didn't release it. They should have. They should have.
Do you not think logically, though, it makes sense that because there's nothing in there?
The Democrats have been releasing their own troves, by the way, outlining things that aren't in these files. So, you know, clearly, the one thing that I would say, which is interesting, is that the Republicans saying to the Democrats, "Oh, your guys are implicated in this as well," and all the Democrats saying, "Yeah, great, let's do them as well." It's only the Republicans are seeking to protect their guy. The Democrats don't give a damn.
It's worth noting that Trump and Epstein parted ways. They fell out 20 years ago.
Trump banned him from his club. Reported him to the authorities. It was the Trump admin who raided his home in 2019.
Virginia Giuffre.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because Giuffre works at Mar-a-Lago.
But it's funny
because he said that he stole her or something like that.
It's funny that you mention conspiracy theories because, you know, a conspiracy theory, one of the wildest conspiracy theories for a while was that we're run by satanic paedophiles. And this just confirms that wildest conspiracy theory is true. Also, the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, it turns out, you know, is way overblown. Everybody was saying, oh, there's this Pizzagate thing and they use codes on the pizza and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, Jeffrey Epstein was literally just using his own email account and emailing people and saying, "Hi, it's Jeffrey Epstein here. Can I buy underage girls to bring to this island?" And, you know, copying in his bank manager and all the rest of it.
QAnon nonsense.
Okay, so let me speak to our next guest down the line about this President Trump situation with Epstein. It's Tiffany Marie Brannan, host of the Tiffany Marie Brannan Show. Tiffany, good to see you. Why? Well, first of all, first question: President Trump, has he been vindicated? There's no smoking gun, really, as far as I can see.
No, there's not. The reality is that President Trump has, you know, once again called out his haters and proven them to be the witch hunters that they are by calling them on their bluff. You know, as you guys just mentioned, if the Democrats had a single tangible shred of evidence that was damning against President Trump, they would have released it in any of the years that they've had full control and access of these files. But they didn't. Why? You look at Obama, you look at Biden, you look at Clinton. Unlike them, Trump is releasing them and is not even redacting his own name. So he's really trying to prove transparency. I think Pam Bondi's doing the best she can. There are still victims out there that have ongoing cases. There are still FBI agents. And the reality is this is a conspiracy theory. These are people that were victims. And this is a very bad guy that's now dead. And frankly, it's a waste of my taxpayer dollars for us to keep talking about it in the way that we are.
Actually, I agree with respect to the victims, and it's probably a controversial thing for me to say. I'm getting pretty bored of this Epstein thing as well. That said, Tiffany, why was President Trump so reluctant? Answer Jonathan List's question here. Jonathan List just said, well, why was he so reluctant to release the files in the first place then? He ran on an election promise in 2024 to say, yeah, we're going to release the files. He whipped up his base, and then he seemingly didn't want to do it. What was that reluctance about?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And the reality is that this was a sort of thorn in the side, right? It's something that no one really wanted to deal with. And yeah, someone that's in the Palm Beach, DC, New York circuit, I can definitely say that you can take pictures with anybody at any event and not know their background or what they're doing behind closed doors. That being said, he also understands what a massive waste of taxpayer dollars this investigation is. You think of all the 20 million plus people we'd like to deport so that we can get our country back. You think of the housing crisis, of the healthcare crisis, of all these real tangible problems that are actually affecting Americans here and now. And then you look at the millions and millions of dollars that I'm paying and all my little American neighbors are paying to go into this investigation. And the reality is why. This would not be the case of a magnitude that it is if it wasn't in some, random peripheral way connected to Trump because they both lived in Palm Beach. And, as also was mentioned, Trump stopped talking to the guy back in 2005. They fell out over that big real estate deal. So I think that it was wrong of him to really put in such a pushback to having them released. But also you look at guys like Representative Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are people like Massey, I'm sure wants to try to run and be on the ticket instead of J.D. Vance in 28. This is someone that is looking for his political career, and I think it's incredibly divisive to the Republican Party. I think it's incredibly divisive to conservatism, and I think it's just another thing that they're trying to do to make the party implode from within.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it, Tiffany. We'll catch up soon. That's Tiffany Marie Brannan, host of the Tiffany Marie Brannan Show. Also with me is law professor Jeremy Paul. Jeremy, good evening. What's your take on this? No smoking gun for President Trump. Is that the end of it?
Well, it's going to go on a long time. The information is going to keep coming out drip by drip. Some things are going to be redacted and unredacted. Even today, some material that was released yesterday was then taken off the website. So no, I don't think this is going to be the end of it. But the one thing your previous guest and I completely agree on is there's so many more important issues that the country faces, including, as was mentioned, healthcare, education, scientific funding. This is not the major issue, but the people who have been really pushing this, not the Democrats, not the Republicans such as Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, but the victims. The victims want to see everybody who was involved outed, pay the price, and they've been pushing and they've been very courageous, and that's what's really going on here, much more than politics.
Yeah, one of our viewers, Ralph, on gbnews.com/yoursay, has said Trump was protecting the incompetent Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, who bungled the release. I mean, Pam Bondi did whip up a big furore by getting all these social media influencers to the White House, giving them a folder full of absolute, inane nonsense that had already been released years prior. Is she partly to blame?
Oh, totally. I agree 100% with that. She went on national television and said, I have a list of Epstein's clients on my desk waiting to come out. She had no such list. She never released it. She made things a lot worse. One thing that the viewers got to understand, everybody should be reluctant to release material without context. That's a good thing to not want to release material. And what's going to happen is, all these photos are going to come out. They're coming out now. Nobody knows what they're about. But somebody who was located at one of those places is going to look at that photo and say, I was there and I wonder what was going on with it. And slowly but surely, you're going to get more and more. And the country is going to keep, churning this when exactly as your previous guest said, it's true that President Trump, there is no smoking gun right now. On the other hand, President Trump clearly was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for a long time. That says something about him. It certainly does not say that he broke any laws, and there's no evidence to suggest that he did, nor is there evidence to prove that he knew that Epstein was breaking the law. So trying to view this as an anti-Trump thing, that just goes, at this point, too far. But the whole saga does reflect a level of casualness about abuse of women and exploiting younger women, which really should make all of us pause. That's not the country we want to live in.
Jeremy Paul, thank you so much. Appreciate your company. That's Jeremy Paul, law professor. gbnews.com/you'll say, Michael, you've said, my question is, what are all these TDS heads, Trump derangement syndrome, going to do in 3 years when he's gone? Who are they going to cry at then? You have VDS, you'll have advanced derangement syndrome. Sounds like some sort of STI, doesn't it?
Trump's going for the third term, it doesn't matter.
Well, he might be VP, he can be VP.
Well, if you're listening to you, he'd have cancelled the election by now. Oh, sorry, that's happening under your leader.
Right, we'll discuss that.
Who's my leader?
Keir Starmer.
Right,
we'll leader too, actually.
We'll discuss that in the next hour or so.
You are a British citizen, aren't you? That's how Prime Minister.
Maybe not chosen. Right, anyway, coming up on the Late Show Live.
There are various arrangements being put in place to ensure all the elections could take place at the right time, depending on the configurations of the council and other arrangements.
Could our former lawyer Prime Minister be breaking human rights laws by delaying elections? Who'd have thought, eh? But also tonight, the Prince of Wales, I love this story, has passed on the lessons from his childhood to another future king. Like father, like son. I can't wait to show you these pictures and these clips. This is The Late Show Live. Back in just a sec.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This Christmas, we're inviting you to join the GB News family for an occasion filled with joy. A chance to come together and lift our voices and celebrate what truly brings us closer at this time of year. So whether you're with friends or family or simply in the spirits of the season, we would love to share this special night of carols with you. Carols by candlelight, Christmas Eve at 8 o'clock only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Late Show Live. Now, the Prince of Wales has taken Prince George to celebrate Christmas with people experiencing homelessness, just as his mother, Princess Diana, did with him in 1993. The Prince has visited the Passage homeless shelter in London, of which William is patron, and where they assisted with meal prep. Joining me in the studio now is my panel tonight, political commentator Jonathan Liss, founder of the Global Britain Centre, Aman Bagao, and GB News superstar Leo Kearse. We've got some great footage here, some clips of Prince George. You know, this isn't the most groundbreaking story in the world. There's lots going on. There's wars, there's Epstein files, there's all sorts of stuff. But I love this story because Prince George signed the book that his grandmother, Princess Diana, signed. She took Prince William back in the day, 1993. And, yeah, it's just a heartwarming story. I liked it.
I think you're right. 32 years later, 4 years before Princess Diana tragically died, I think it is a heartwarming story, but it also tells us the bigger picture here, which is that I think with Prince William and Prince George, dare I say, I think our royal inheritance is very much in safe hands. Right? Our country is, the cornerstone of our country is the royal family and our traditions. And I think with all this, I think it's in safe hands.
Hopefully we've got some clips, there's some footage. Prince George, Leo, was getting stuck in making Yorkshire puds and so on.
Yeah, he's certainly arranging them on a tray. Maybe they had a professional chef doing that, because it's a tricky thing to do. You know what I mean? If you're not used to preparing your own meals, it might be tricky for you. The place is called The Passage. I believe his Uncle Edward also likes it in The Passage. But the thing that's... the thing that I'm taking away
tonight fervently, by the way.
Well,
the thing that
there's nothing wrong.
The thing that I'm taking away from this is
there's nothing wrong with being gay, by the way. But Sophie's adamant that he's not.
Right.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean.
That's what my wife says about me. It doesn't mean anything. But I think what we're really taking from this is
50% gay panel. That's probably standard for GB News.
Right, let's get back onto Prince George making.
But yeah, I mean, they really struck lucky with Prince William, his wife Kate, and this kid George, and I think there's another kid as well. Like, they really struck lucky because these ones seem to be good ones. And you know,
is that not down to the parents?
There's a lot of branches on that tree going down that, you know, they could have had a real. Imagine if what's his name, Andrew, was you know, the heir to the throne right now. You know, like, releasing his plans to institute prima nocte. It would be a car crash. We probably wouldn't have a royal family anymore.
There was apparently some competition between father and son in getting the food ready. Mr. Clark, who works at the Passage Homeless Shelter, said William was on the sprouts, getting his sprouts ready so they could go into the steamer, and Prince George was helping with the Yorkshire pudding, said Mr. Clark. He described the signing of the book with Princess Diana's name as a lovely, beautiful moment. I think particularly when Prince William pointed out to George, "This is my mum's signature. This was the first time she brought me here." Jonathan, it's kind of, you know, I don't want to descend into a Harry and Meghan knockathon, but, you know, when you compare the part...
Knockathon? Yes, here we go.
Well, I just want to say, you know, when you compare the way Prince William is handling himself, you know, I just find it interesting from a psychological perspective and a life perspective. Both these sons, Harry and William, they suffered the same trauma. What they went through, carrying their mother's coffin through London was atrocious, and I don't know who's to blame for that, but somebody needs to get blamed for it severely. But their life paths since then have taken, you know, quite contrasting different ways. And I just think William's cracking on with his job. He's doing a great job as a father. Prince George looks like a good lad. And Harry is slebbing up in...
I don't know why we have to turn a nice story into just another opportunity to hate on people.
I don't hate Harry.
Like, and there's no evidence that Harry isn't a good dad.
Do you think Harry's missing out?
There's no evidence that
Harry's missing out?
That's not for me to say. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I'm sure Harry's a good dad. We know that he's done really good charity work as well. And I don't know why we have to kind of just bash them all the time.
Like Jimmy Savile. Jimmy Savile did great charity work as well.
Harry has done really good work with his Centre Barley charity. And
Jimmy Savile did amazing work with the London Marathon. It was just with a cigar.
So you're accusing Prince Harry of being...
No, I'm just saying.
Very, very careful with your wording here because we already have one apology.
I'm just saying. Doing lots of work for charity doesn't make someone a magical
in Harry's
person.
defence, he's also served this country, which you know, regardless of what he's done beyond that, that's.
Jimmy Savile made some amazing television.
It's not talking about Jimmy Savile.
This is really offensive stuff, Leo. Come on.
With me now is royal commentator Jack Stooks down the line. Jack, thank you for your patience. Front page of the Sunday Telegraph. George looking splendid. I don't know George personally. He could be a little terror. I'm sure he's not. But he looks like a good lad, and I'm glad he's following in his father's footsteps.
Yeah, it's amazing. Do you know what? And I think everybody's forgetting is this is for a homeless charity. So it's helping the homeless. It's showing his son at an early age, just like his mother showed him, that going forward, this is the way that the royal family are. You know, they're trying to support the homelessness, especially at Christmas. It's sort of bringing to light what's actually going on in these charities. And I think that's a really good thing to be showing and sort of instilling into his young children at this nice early age. But, you know, he appears to be enjoying it. He appears to be liking being there with his father. We can see them both joining in, and it is amazing to see. And, you know, it does hark back to Princess Diana bringing her boys to the various charities that she did.
How much credit can we give? I mean, I think I know the answer to this. It's quite an easy one. But how much credit can we give to William and Catherine for the way their children turn out? Not just their children, I suppose any parent and their kids. I think they've done a sterling job.
Of course. And, you know, we've seen that throughout the years, that the royal family, they do sort of, the children take the best part of the parents and they move forward with that. And so we've seen it going. But what we have with William and Catherine is we've got a little bit more privacy going on. And, you know, we haven't seen William and the children out very much when Catherine was going through that period of time where she had the illness. But we are seeing them a lot more now. And, you know, it's so great to actually see them out. And we've had such terrible news over the last few weeks that to have this and all of us seeing this in Britain going, you know, this is what Britain's about. We've got this amazing royal family, and let's concentrate on the positives of the royal family. Let's forget about the negatives, move on from the negatives. We've been through that. Let's just move forward in a great way that William's doing exactly here.
Yeah, well said, Jack. And actually spending the last 4 months in Washington, D.C. and America, the Americans love the royals. It's something unique to us. I know other countries have royal families, but nothing like our royal family. And they are admired, for the most part, I'd say, all around the world. And it's a great piece of British institution and heritage, which I think we need to protect. And King Charles embarking on a mega tour next year of many countries, including America. He will be visiting President Trump for the 250th anniversary of the country of America, which is good. So I'm looking forward to that in April. Jack, thanks very much. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you.
Jack Stooks, Royal Commentator. Thank you, mate. Still ahead on The Late Show Live. What do you reckon? An engineer? Dentist? Doctor? But a gun-toting illegal small boat migrant who called for the death of all Jews is back on Britain's streets. But also tonight. Is Keir Starmer coming for your favourite Christmas songs with a new Labour law? And also, what is your favourite Christmas song? I'll ask my panel very shortly. gbnews.com/your say. This is The Late Show Live. Back in just a tick.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, welcome back to the Late Show Live. Let's delve into some of the main stories on the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers. Looking at the Sunday Telegraph, actually, I think. Panel, welcome back. Leo, Jonathan, Aman. Majority of Jews do not feel safe in Britain, just down the bottom. Let me read you a very quick couple of paragraphs. The majority of British Jews feel that they do not have long-term future in the UK and have considered leaving. Anti-Semitism has left 61% of the Jewish community considering moving abroad, up from 50% last year. Jonathan, you're Jewish. Are you? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I am Jewish.
You are?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of leaving?
Absolutely not, Ben. This is my country, always will be.
Why the increase in this sentiment?
Well, I think that this is... if this is an accurate survey of the Jewish community, then that is very, very sad and very worrying. And I think it's a terrible, terrible shame that people in my community feel that they are unsafe in this country. I think that they are wrong. I think that Jewish people are, for the most part, safe and well protected. That doesn't mean that there are not risks to our safety. And it doesn't mean that everything is perfect, far from it. But I think that there are some bad faith actors who revel in playing up the threats that Jews face for various reasons, and that there is a kind of panic in the community. I'm not always sure that that panic is entirely corresponding to the reality of the threat. Once again, I'm not saying there is no threat. Clearly there is, and we've seen that this year. Clearly there are threats, and I know I do security duty at my synagogue twice a year in a high-vis jacket and stab vest.
Why do you do that if there's no... if it's safe?
Leo, if you literally just listen to what I said there are threats, and there always have been.
But then you said you feel safe, and it's all been overblown, it's been exploited by far-right agitators.
Leo, we did not start a security duty at my synagogue in 2023. This has been happening for as long as I've been alive.
Oh, it's been happening for centuries, and we know why.
People. So, but if you looked at the surveys from 20 years ago, Jewish people were not saying that they wanted to leave. So I'm saying there's always been a threat, but it didn't mean that Jews wanted to leave the country.
Are Jews more unsafe under Labour, this government?
No, I don't think so. Not at all, no.
What about since the Palestine marches, the globalised intifada? Has there been blames for the Bondi attacks?
No, I don't think...
Is globalised intifada a
Well, let me answer one question at a time. I don't think that the Palestine marches have increased anti-Semitism. No, I don't think they have.
Really?
No, I don't. I don't think so. No. And I think that, look, I don't want to get into a thing about Israel. But obviously, the Palestine marches are about Israel, not just about Jewish people.
What does globalised intifada mean?
Well, I think that is an unwise slogan because it's widely misunderstood. If the people who use that slogan point that it's about... Intifada means uprising, and it's about... being sort of about
the sort of uprising where you go in with machine guns.
It's not about sort of globalise any attacks on Jews, and I think, but it's
What's
an unwise
the Intifada been all about?
Because it's an unwise slogan because people misunderstand that.
Right, Aman, last word to you.
Look, it's very simple. We've had the hate marches happening up and down this country, especially in London, since 7th of October 2023. In fact, the morning after, the day after they started.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we now have more people in this country than before who not only hate Jews, who hate Britain, who hate everything that this country, that the West stands for. They weren't here before, there are more of them here now.
Yep. Okay.
It's quite simple. Logic dictates that, hence the threat is more to not just Jews, but also Hindus and Sikhs.
Okay.
We saw it in Leicester.
All right.
Yeah, look at the history of the Middle East.
OK, well, anti-Semitism, according to this new article, has left 61% of the Jewish community in Britain considering moving abroad. That's up from 50% last year. What's to blame? I don't know. gbnews.com/you'll say. More coming up in the next hour, including this.
What on earth is the point of us having a lawyer rather than a leader as a Prime Minister?
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, for most of us today, it's going to be a rather grey and murky day. Best of the sunshine for Northern Ireland and northwestern Scotland, with the risk of some heavier rain down towards the southwest. So sunshine is going to be in limited supply first thing this morning, but there will be some across northwestern Scotland and Northern Ireland. And as I mentioned, here's really where we're going to see the best of it during the course of the day. Elsewhere, lots of cloud around. This cloud will be thick enough in places to produce some spots of rain, especially down towards the southwest. Some of this rain will be quite heavy for a time. And on the face of it, temperatures above average for the time of year, but I think if you're stuck under the cloud, it won't feel too great if you are out and about. So into this evening, we see further rain move up from the south. Again, some of this could be heavy in places. Still relatively dry for western parts of Wales at this stage. And again, Northern Ireland hanging on to some fairly dry conditions. But elsewhere, lots of cloud around, especially eastern Scotland. Here we could see some rain moving in from time to time too. And as we go through the course of the night, really, cloud and outbreaks of rain is going to be the name of the game. Further areas of rain moving their way northwards. Again, some of this could be on the heavy side and still quite murky, especially over towards the east. Turning a little bit drier later on down towards the southeast, but could even to see a few mist and fog patches forming here as the skies begin to clear. But with the cloud and rain around, it's not going to be a cold night by any means. Most of us actually staying in mid-single figures. So Monday itself, we start off on a rather grey and damp note. Heaviest of the rain during the morning up across Scotland, but that will gradually clear its way northwards. Maybe some sunshine developing for a time across the south, but we may see further cloud return later on in the day. But with winds still coming up from the south, it's going to still be fairly mild for the time of year. Temperatures again into double figures across the south, but that won't last. As we head towards Christmas, it's set to turn colder.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good morning. Hope you're well. I'm Ben Leo on The Late Show Live tonight. A gun-toting illegal small boat migrant who called for the death of all Jews is back on Britain's streets. Merry Christmas to you. Plus.
This was inspired by a terrorist organisation, by ISIS.
I'll expose the jihadi island turning amateur Islamist extremists into killers and its disturbing link to the Bondi terrorists. And whilst we may not be live from Washington DC tonight, we are bringing you the stories America's talking about and that matter to Britain too, including this one.
Everybody knew this man. He was all over Palm Beach. He has photos with everybody. I mean, almost there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have photos with him. So that's no big deal. I know nothing about it.
The fallout from the Epstein files is everywhere, but where's that so-called smoking gun that Democrats insist would sink President Trump? Still looking for it. But also tonight, our human rights lawyer Prime Minister has been accused of breaking human rights laws by delaying local elections.
There is absolutely no reason why these elections should not go ahead. But then there is, of course, one very big reason.
Hello, good evening. Welcome along to The Late Show Live. Breaking tonight, a small boat migrant who openly called for the death of all Jews has been released from prison and is now back on Britain's streets. Abu Wade, a self-declared Hamas supporter, served just 9 months for illegally entering the UK by dinghy. Oh, so it can be done. We can jail people for illegally entering the UK. That's interesting. This same man live-streamed his crossing on the internet, posted extremist propaganda online and was filmed also brandishing weapons, including that rifle there you can see on your screen. Yet, tonight, of course he is, because this is Great Britain 2025, he's free. He's a free man. He's been tagged, housed in a bail hostel at your expense and has already been lodged an asylum claim to stay in the UK. He also called for the, quote, death to all Jews. Tonight, Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp and Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick are demanding his immediate deportation. And now, the Home Office have said, quote, all foreign national offenders who receive a prison sentence in the UK are referred for deportation at the earliest opportunity. But, crucially, they've refused to confirm whether he will indeed be deported. Jonathan Liss is here, Amanda Gow and Leo Kearse. Leo, the more interesting point of this story is not that he's been released and is, you know, back on British streets. Of course he is. It's the fact that the country jailed him for 9 months for illegally entering the UK by boat. So it can be done.
It can be done. Apparently, it is a crime to be an illegal migrant. And after the story that we've just covered about Jews not feeling safe in the UK, the government's just releasing onto the street this man who's openly professed the slaughter of Jews. He's admitted to sending burning kites into Israel, apparently, a man was telling us. And so this is somebody who's allowed to roam the streets. No wonder Jews don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. Personally, I think Jews are the canary in the coal mine in the UK. Like, we've seen Islamists across the Middle East, across a lot of other parts of the world, and North Africa, exterminate and drive out Jewish populations. And as the numbers grow in the UK and we just accept people into the country who have these attitudes, and we're like, oh, well, you've got to go to prison for 9 months and then release them onto the streets, this is only going to get more of a problem.
Man, so the Mail on Sunday article, where this comes from, this is their exclusive. It says they've released the Palestinian gun-toting militant. He's from Gaza. He came from Gaza. Abu Wade, 34. He served 9 months behind bars for the crime of illegally entering the UK on a dinghy. He's a known Hamas supporter. He posted about his freedom from custody on social media, and he has already lodged an asylum claim to stay in the UK. Interestingly, he was released from prison some while ago under Labour's early release scheme, and then was recalled back in for breaking his licence. I mean, the whole thing is just a joke, isn't it? And again, I'll just ask the question to you. It just shows that we can, if you want to, bang people up for coming on dinghies. Why don't we do it?
Indeed, and not just that. I think the bigger question here, Ben, is why on earth is this man here in the first place? Right? He should have been picked up the day he crossed over onto the Kent coast and dropped back on the French coast. No questions asked. We should simply not be allowing unvetted, unknown foreign men, vast majority of them from the Middle East, people who we know after so many incidents are not in the interest of our country, in the interest of the safety of women and girls in this country either. What on earth are they doing here?
Yeah. Jonathan, being in America the last 4 or 5 months or so shows that if you want to do things, you can just do it. If you want to stop illegal migration, they've got rid of 2-point-something million people, 600,000 deportations, forcible. The rest have been self-deportations. If you want to stop migration, illegal migration, you can just do it. And it shows with this case that you can just jail people for coming on boats. And you can, if you want to, just turn them back safely to where they came from. So why don't we do it?
I don't really understand the story because what happens when people come on the small boats is that they then lodge asylum seekers and then they can't be prosecuted, as I understand it, for coming on the boats because they're asylum seekers, and that's a different, separate legal category. So something about this story doesn't really make sense to me because I don't understand why he wouldn't have just claimed asylum as all the other people do when they come on the boats, and that's why they don't face prosecution for coming over illegally. In terms of, things that he said, I think that there should be procedures in place for this kind of thing, and that if people are released from prison, as everyone is after they've served their sentence, then they have strict conditions applied to that in as normal, and then they have to face rigorous supervision. At least that's how it should be.
I trust the state to do that.
I'm not saying it always works, but I'm saying that's how it's meant to be. If he's committed a crime, then he should be tried for that crime.
He's on electronic tag now in some unknown bail hostel.
Maybe the Labour government could, send him back on one of those carousels, one in, one out. Maybe they could import another Hamas supporter instead of him. I mean, this is a complete joke.
I'm sure there's plenty already.
This is a complete joke. If it wasn't so serious, it would be literally, this is panto season all year round from the Labour government, right? One in, one out. We are paying them now to be sent away. We're having this transfer deal with the Albanians or whatever it was. Nothing is going to work until we start shipping them back to France. Okay. And you know what? It's been done. It's been done at least 3 times in the last year under the Labour government. Very quietly, boats from the UK, the Coast Guard and the Royal Navy have actually docked back on the French coast and done it. So why can't it be done every single day?
You can't return people to French territory.
But it's been done.
You can't send people to France.
Why not?
Unless you have an agreement.
What are they going to do?
What are they going to do?
What
are they going to do?
We can just do it.
It's technically an invasion.
Yeah, we're an invasion. And that's we're being invaded.
Trump sent people back to Colombia, to Venezuela.
I don't think we can invade France, Leo.
It's not invading.
Yeah, we totally can. We've done it before. We've got a rich heritage of invading France.
Okay.
And you know what? We paid them more than £1 billion to take back.
Yeah,
these
but man,
people.
but the French. Let's be honest. The French don't care. Why would the French want to help Britain? And it's not some political comment.
And
why would they want to? Why would they want to take back their own migrants?
If they're not agreeing the normal, decent way, working with us in a diplomatic way, well, then you go and drop people back.
This whole conversation about let's work with the French and get more cooperation. They do not want to work with us, the French.
Well, that's obviously not true because there is now an agreement in place with France.
We need to stop
an agreement.
We need to stop thinking about working with people and think about conquering people again. Like Britain was great when we had that attitude, and France wouldn't be laughing in our faces, taking our money and not doing any of the things it's supposed to be doing if we had a mighty armada.
We've done enough prostrating in front of the French. It's about time we stood up for our own national.
Jonathan,
so we're fighting basically the Battle of Agincourt again. Is that what?
Yeah, right. Great idea.
Well, I'd rather do that.
The guy's coming up with solutions.
I don't think it's a serious proposition.
Can I tell you what President Trump has done in America? So countries who initially didn't want to take back their illegal migrants, he threatened them with tariffs, pulling trade deals, maybe even worse. And eventually, I think it was Colombia in the end, the president of Colombia said, hang on a minute, I will send you my own private jet and we'll bring these people back. So they strong-armed them into taking
Well, I don't think that strong-arming people is a good tactic in general, but you do actually, you have had an example, had a version of that with Shabana Mahmood threatening countries with visa blocks if they don't cooperate with that. But obviously, the UK doesn't have the clout that the US has, and I don't think that Trump's policy on immigration is anything that we should be copying.
OK, let's get some views from across the pond. Louise Mensch, former Tory MP, is down the line again, joining us. Louise, does this go to show, maybe you'll know as a former politician, this guy was jailed for illegally entering the UK on a small boat, so why can't that be done in the other 50-odd thousand cases this year?
Well, that's the first of two questions. Very good question. If it can be done to him, why can't it be done to anybody else? And the second corollary question is, since they were able to literally lock this guy up for the crime of illegally entering the UK, why did they then let him go after he committed the crime of saying that he wanted to kill all the Jews? That kind of hate speech is also a crime in Britain. How come they could lock him up for the one and not for the other?
Yeah, and he was released, laughably, of course he was. He was released under Labour's early release scheme to free up prison space and then recalled to prison for breaching his licence. It doesn't say what that breach was, but he was released, did something wrong again, and then got hauled back in.
Yeah, and now they've let him go while he's threatening half of our fellow citizens. This is a guy who, when he was in those little boats sailing across the channel, he put it all on TikTok. The whole thing, basically laughing at us. When you look at him, you have to say, this guy is winning and the British people are losing because they are literally making fun of us and our freedoms, and they're kind of right to do so. We've let him out in defiance of our own laws. It's not legal in Britain to go around threatening to kill an entire group of people because of their race or their religion. But he did it, and yet nonetheless Labour let him out.
What do you make of President Trump? We were just that discussion there with Jonathan Liss about forcibly, forcing other nations' hands to get them to take their migrants back, their people back. I can't remember the South American country. Maybe you can. But there was a big row. Maybe it was Colombia. They refused to take anyone back. President Trump threatened them with all sorts of sanctions and tariffs and God knows what. And eventually they sent their own private jet to pick them up.
I think it was Colombia. And look, as the great socialist firebrand Tony Benn said of Margaret Thatcher, she's a signpost, not a weather vane. And whether you like Trump or not, you have to admit that he is a signpost. He has this ideology. He's going to stick to it. And frankly, what his views on who should and shouldn't be in the United States, one of his strongest points with the public. Even though his overall approval rating is not so high, his approval rating on immigration is through the roof. And I think people do have to acknowledge that the American public want what Donald Trump is giving them on this matter.
My panel's still here. Jonathan Liss, it is Colombia. So in January, President Trump said he threatened to whack Colombia with 25% tariffs and sanctions if they didn't take their migrants back. Why can't we do that to France?
Trump really loves his tariffs. Well, I don't think that we should be threatening France with tariffs. The EU is our biggest trading partner. We've already clobbered ourselves as it is.
But we don't want their illegal migrants. That's
in
the
the
point.
single market. So tariffs are not the answer to any problem.
So you're happy to put our women and girls, their safety? No, what do you mean heaven's sakes?
It's so emotive, and it's
real. It's real.
It's not real.
What are you saying? It's not real that the grooming gangs aren't real. That
Swimming gangs were British people.
Are you saying that the girl who was abused in Epping by Hadush Gebrselassie Kibatu, that wasn't real?
I'm not saying that there aren't individual cases. Of course I'm not.
Look,
so what's your good number? What's your acceptable number of cases?
That is a preposterous thing to say.
You're saying you accept a certain.
Let him answer.
Obviously, asylum seekers are human beings, and there are going to be bad people among them, statistically.
And at a higher rate.
No, I don't.
Yes,
no, I don't.
Measurably at a higher rate.
That's true.
It's 100% true, and you don't want to believe it because your religion tells you that diversity is a strength.
Well, I'm Jewish, and so it doesn't tell me that.
No, you're wokist. Your religion is woke.
Jonathan, can I just ask you, go back to this point about Trump threatening Colombia. Again, you said we don't want to cause animosity between our neighbours, but I mean, it works with President Trump. Why can't the UK get tougher with Macron and say, we're not going to be buying your sparkling wine, we're not going to be buying your cheese? And so,
it's not the 18th century anymore, and Britain is not particularly
President
powerful.
Trump's not an 18th century leader. He's just he's cracked illegal migration overnight.
The United States has hard power, and it's using it, rightly or wrongly, I think wrongly, but the UK does not have hard power in the same way, and we can't strong-arm our neighbours into doing things we want them to do unless we want a complete breakdown in trade relations, which would actually not be great for our economy, which, as you've noticed, is not doing particularly well at the moment.
Well, so Rachel Reeves' fault. Louise Mensch.
Partly Brexit as well.
Brexit.
Yeah.
Louise, is the UK in a different position, say, to the US? Why can't we just copy what President Trump does? They are a hard power, according to Jonathan Liss. Are we not a hard power, or are we just a bunch of P words?
I'd rather be strong-arming somebody than be limp-wristed about this sort of thing, quite frankly. And although clearly there's only one hyperpower in the world, and it's the United States, Britain, I would say, has a lot more power than France. If we were to send the Royal Navy to put some of these migrants back on the shores of Calais, I really can't see the French Navy doing very much to be able to stop us, quite frankly. But we clearly don't have the will for that, and that is unfortunate. It's true that we need to trade with the EU. That's very true, but also they need to trade with us. And I do think that perhaps we should put some kind of a sanction on France, because otherwise you're just inviting them to send more and more of these migrants over. If you're not willing to say no at any point, you're not willing to back that up with some kind of an action, some kind of a sanction, then why should France pay any attention to what Britain wants? It will just keep on sending migrants over.
Yeah, good point, Louise. I've always said, maybe it's naive and maybe it's futile, but stop buying their sparkling wine, stop buying their cheese. We've got Nye Timber, we've got the loads of great wine estates down the south of England. Stop buying their rubbish. Yeah? You're laughing, but
people are not going to stop buying French cheese and champagne, Ben. You say what you like about the French, they do food and drink better than the Brits.
That's not true. That's not true. We actually have more varieties of cheese in Britain, and you should start sampling them. Then you won't need these French cheeses that fund our asylum hell.
I love British cheese. Let's not go all Liz Truss. That is a disgrace here. I mean, I think that we should all be eating lots of British cheese, which is great. But people still want to eat brie and camembert. They might want to get some nice French food and some wines as well. I think the French wine industry is doing better than the British one. That's a controversial point.
This is exactly the defeatist leadership we've had from the Labour Party. I'm sorry. Look, we're the 6th biggest economy in the world.
What's wrong with cheddar and Nye Timber?
If we cannot stand up for... I don't know what you're laughing at.
Because we can't compete with the French on wine. That is not a controversial thing.
Yeah, but we could beat them in a war.
This is not about...
All right, yes, we could. Louise, one thing I did find being in America, before I let you go, is they can't do... Is Louise still there? Louise still with us? She's gone. She got bored of the cheese. Louise, one thing I did notice in America is they just can't do cheese stateside, can they?
Oh my God, they cannot. It's disgusting. It's orange and stringy, and they don't know. They don't know what good cheese is. Honestly, they would faint if they had an actual piece of actual cheddar from cheddar in England. They cannot cope with it at all.
I do look for a nice block of cheddar in the American supermarkets, but it's a bit spenny, so I'll leave it.
Just like everything else.
Thanks very much for your time. We'll catch up again soon.
Bring me back some.
Yeah, I will. Stay safe.
Okay.
Cheers, Louise.
Look at cheese tariffs.
Cheese tariffs.
Yeah.
Look, everyone's joking about this. I think it's a serious concept. If the country, stop buying their rubbish, just out of principle, maybe it won't touch the size.
On a serious point, if you try to put tariffs on the French, guess what? The French are in a trade bloc. It's called the EU. It's our biggest trade partner. They will put retaliatory tariffs on before you can say camembert.
You're telling me,
and that is not going to be good for our economy. And I'm sorry, we're outside the EU now. We are.
So you're telling me that all the 27 EU countries are going to be in unison to put tariffs on us with the French. Are you having a laugh?
It's called a customs union. That's how it works.
We could team up with America to liberate the EU.
That's exactly how it works. That's the whole point of the EU. That's why it was one of the reasons why it was a bad idea.
You do know it works on consensus, don't you?
Yes, and if you tried, and if
you
you
really
put,
think
yes,
you really think Prime Minister Maloney is going to sit there with Macron and say, yes, you know what, I'm not going to side with the British in fighting illegal migration, which is affecting her country even more.
Italy is in a trade union with France.
Yes, and do you know?
And they have a common tariff.
They have a common tariff.
So
and do you know how they take decisions? They take decisions by consensus.
I lived in Brussels for 2 years working in the EU.
Consensus. How are they going?
Qualified majority voting, yes.
So how is that going to happen?
And if you think for 1 second that Italy is going to side with the UK over France, you are completely deluded on this issue.
You better believe it. Right. Don't worry about, guys, listeners and viewers, do not worry about the small boats crisis, because Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, has released a statement. She's previously said these small boat crossings are utterly unacceptable and the vile people smugglers behind them are wreaking havoc on our borders. Protecting the UK border is my priority as Home Secretary, and I'll explore all options to restore order to our immigration system. gbnews.com/your say. Still ahead on The Late Show Live.
I just saw an older lady get shot and she was on the floor. Saw an older guy get shot.
Islamic State terrorists are infiltrating the West as their training grounds, known as Jihadi Island, is exposed. And it's emerged the Bondi terrorists visited Jihadi Island just weeks before. Any guesses where Jihadi Island is? gbnews.com/your say. I'll reveal all very shortly. Also tonight, here's a story you definitely don't want to miss.
There is absolutely no reason why these elections should not go ahead. But then there is, of course, one very big reason.
An interesting question being posed tonight. Could the Prime Minister be breaking human rights laws by delaying local elections? We'll be getting stuck into that in just a tick on The Late Show Live. Right, Sir Ed Davey has written to the Equality and Human Rights Commission urging them to take action against the government and what he calls a clear breach of the law by delaying local elections. So is Sir Keir Starmer, the former human rights lawyer, breaking human rights laws? Joining me is my panel now, Leo, Jonathan and Aman. Leo, is he breaking human rights laws?
I'm not an expert in human rights law, unlike most people in the government, including Keir Starmer. You'd think of all the people who might be able to not break human rights law, it might be Keir Starmer, the human rights lawyer. But yeah, I mean, I think they've been referred to the Electoral Commission. I think there could well be a case here.
I'm trying to find Ed Davey's letter. I'm not sure. I mean, is it a human right to have elections, Aman?
Absolutely, yes. Certainly in a free democracy like ours, I think the Labour government is taking an absolute hatchet to the very idea of democracy, the very foundations of what our country is built on. And this is not the first time they've done it. This is the second year running in so many places.
Okay.
Elections.
Ed Davey has said his minister's plans to propose local elections for 10 million voters are a breach of the Human Rights Act. That's according to Ed Davey. He's written to the chairwoman of the Equality and Human Rights Commission, urging the regulator to take action against a clear breach of the law. Yeah,
I mean, we've got to be honest here. If Labour thought they were going to win these seats, they wouldn't be postponing the elections. If they thought they were going to take seats off the Tories or take seats off anybody else, they wouldn't be postponing the elections.
7 of the 9 councils affected Conservative run ones.
Well, therein lies the uni party.
Reform is saying, okay, fine, but it's not then just Labour, is it? And Reform is saying that this is a Conservative Labour ploy. I don't know the ins and outs of this particular issue. Labour said that the councils can apply for it if there's a restructuring happening that makes elections impossible. But I can also see if you're a party that stands to gain, whether you're the Lib Dems or Reform, then that's not going to look great for you if you think that you stand a really good chance of winning the election and the election's put off. So I understand why people are annoyed about it, for sure.
Ed Davey said this isn't just a stitch-up, it's a breach of people's fundamental rights to free and fair elections across swathes of the country. If Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch won't stand up for our democracy, we hope the ERHC will. Sir Robert Buckland said the government deserves to be absolutely condemned for this. Yeah, I mean, I go back to something I said to you earlier, Jonathan, about those of the left projecting things. You know, they go around calling people racist when the truth is they're the most racist people around. You get it with a lot of male feminists as well.
How are they the most racist people around?
How?
Yeah.
Well, DEI, for example.
Identity politics.
Racism.
Yeah.
You get it with a lot of male... Hang on, wait, don't hijack my point.
Into racist
right, we're not getting into it. You're getting into it. I'm not.
You just said it.
I'm giving you a list of examples. If you stop
I'll give you a personal example.
No, if you stop interrupting, you'll hear what I'm going to say. You get it with male feminists all the time who are saying we need to protect women. You know, we need to protect women from sexual predators. Who, from my own experience, anecdotal, the biggest vocal male feminists are the biggest predators to women going. It's time and time again you see the examples. And Labour. People of the left who say, you are a fascist, President Trump, or you are a totalitarian state, this state. You guys are doing that. You are cancelling elections, you're scrapping jury trials, you've got digital ID, you've got face cameras everywhere, recognition cameras. It's the stuff of Banana Republic.
The face cameras start on the Conservatives. I mean, look, there are always justifications for these individual policies, and we can debate them individually. I certainly think that Labour has been authoritarian in many ways. One of the key ones being the prescription Palestine action, which led to sort of thousands of grannies and university academics being sort of arrested, holding up a sign.
Fun to watch.
I don't think it's particularly fun to watch, actually.
I like watching.
And if you want to condemn Labour for being authoritarian, then you have to be consistent.
But they knew they were going to do that. They knew by going into Parliament Square, holding signs saying, I support Palestine action, they knew they were going to be next.
Right, so if you think a law is unjust, it doesn't change the fact that the law is unjust. And the laws are very authoritarian.
Well, Palestine
action... isn't it? The one thing that you won't condemn the government for is it's most authoritarian.
I think I agree with you that it's terrible, and it's sort of almost giving them more of a sort of cultural cachet than they deserve.
Palestine Action have been accused of breaking into RF Bryce Norton and causing millions of pounds worth.
Yeah, but just shoot them. Just shoot. If they do that, shoot them.
It should not be a crime to say that you support them. I'm sorry, it should just.
Well, either you have
holding up a sign.
Either you have prescribed terrorist groups, or you don't.
You are supposed to be like the free speech absolutist.
No, I believe.
He goes on about Lucy Connolly all the time, but you think that people should be jailed for holding up signs. Make up your mind. What do you believe?
Well, if you're a prescribed terrorist organisation and that terrorist organisation has been accused of breaking into RF bases and causing damage, it's not hypocrisy.
I don't think that people should be jailed for supporting organisations.
Terrorist organisations.
I am so much more consistent than you on this. I don't think Lucy Connolly should have gone to jail. I don't think that people should be prosecuted for tweets unless they're directly inciting violence. And people attack me from this on your channel all the time, but actually I'm the one who's consistent and you're the hypocrite.
Well, you're far right.
You support it when it's on your side and you don't when it's on the other one. Just be consistent, all I ask.
I am consistent. Do you think if somebody standing in Parliament Square holding a Hamas or Hezbollah flag should be arrested?
No, I don't.
Right.
There you go.
Should they be deported?
What if they're... No, it's... look, I don't think that people holding up signs or flags, I don't think in the main, it has to be on a case-by-case basis.
Do you think it's a sign of do you think it's a sign of an issue in this country that we've got people who clearly, don't identify with Britain and identify with not just overseas alien causes, but identify them to the point that they support terrorist organisations in those countries?
If someone is directly calling for violence against an individual or a group, then that should be an offence.
Well,
if someone's holding up a flag, it's a flag, it's a piece of cloth.
But
it's a free speech issue.
Jonathan,
you went to a free speech absolutist as well, aren't you?
Jonathan, just take a breath. You just said that somebody holding a flag, i.e. a Hamas flag in Parliament Square, shouldn't be arrestable offence. Hamas's entire existence is about eradicating Israel as a state. So that's a call for violence. A consistent over the
killing all Jews.
Call for violence. So why would you not want them arrested?
People should be held to account for what they actually say and do. And if you are directly calling for violence against Jews,
you call me inconsistent. You're off.
I'm not. Holding up a flag is holding up a piece of cloth. Be serious. If you're calling for something directly, that should be an offence. Holding up a flag, who cares?
Right, OK, let's get the take of Reform UK County Councillor Jamie McIver, who's down the line. Jamie, thanks for your patience on this. I guess as the Reform representative here, you're going to say what a disgrace this cancelling of local elections is. But as Jonathan said, it's not just Labour, it's the Tories as well. And also their argument is, Jamie, they need time to, re-establish these new parameters of how to do things, the mayors and stuff.
Well, Ben, first of all, you don't have to be a Reform councillor to be outraged by this. I'm outraged because I'm a British citizen. And last time I checked, I was born in a country where we have regular elections, peaceful transfer of power, and I was living in a country that has a democracy. These are long-standing elections that are being cancelled, potentially. This happened this year. And I know the government are getting, and rightly so, bashing for this. But actually, it was the Conservative Party that wanted this to happen. I was in the council chamber this January when they voted to cancel elections. And I think it's rather embarrassing that you're now seeing Tory MPs come out and say it's an outrage. Where were they this May when we had the wholesale cancellation of elections, Ben? This is an absolute disgrace, and I think the British people deserve far better than a government that's even entertaining and contemplating the idea of cancelling elections. And by the way, as a councillor, I can tell you this whole reorganisation stuff is a load of rubbish, but it certainly doesn't warrant the cancellation of elections. It's not that complicated, what they're trying to do.
Condemnation for the likes of the Electoral Commission, Sir Robert Buckland, Ed Davey as well. Lots of people not happy with this, not just Reform. What are the chances, do you think, of a reversal?
Well, I think the government clearly want the elections to be cancelled because Keir Starmer will not survive the wipeout of the Labour Party, but it is mainly Tory defences. And so I think what the government are doing is being quite clever. They're giving Labour councils the opportunity to request cancellation so they can fly the facade of we're listening to local councils. And then, of course, they're giving the Tory council leaders the opportunity to be cowards and cancel those elections, or the opportunity to go ahead with the elections and then wipe out the Tory party, which only can help anyone other than the Tory party. But, you know, what's very interesting is you're getting all these Tory leaders saying, oh, we believe in democracy. And they believe in democracy so much, they can't make the decision to go ahead with the elections themselves. They're actually asking their councils and councillors like me to go and vote on the matter. I've actually called for the meeting in Essex next January to not go ahead. We shouldn't be voting on whether we have elections or not. They should just happen. We live in a democracy. So I think the government are being a bit crafty, but I think the Tories are being their typical untrustworthy selves.
OK, and just finally, why do you think this kind of redrawing of the political structure in the UK is a load of rubbish, i.e. the mayors in East and West Sussex? The scrapping of...
It's a load of rubbish, Ben, because... It's a load of rubbish because I talk to people. I'm a very, active councillor. In fact, I've just been at an amazing party in my community at the Woodman pub in my division. Amazing, proper Essex people. And you know what? The number one issue on people's minds right now is not whether or not their council should be reorganised or not. And the answer has never been more politicians when this country faces crisis. The problem in our country at the moment is that we have jury trials being scrapped. We have borderless country and unvetted men coming to a town like mine in Epping to sexually assault potentially your daughter or granddaughter. We have an economy that is spiralling out of control. We have public spending going through the roof. Pubs can't afford to open. High street shops are closing. It's Christmas and everyone is literally holding on to a little bit of excitement for a few more days before what is going to be very depressing 2026. And we have the most unpopular Prime Minister in the world. Why on earth do the government think that it's a priority to reorganise local government? Local government needs reform, big time, but the answer is not just stitching up some boundaries and giving some Tory council leaders a bit of an ego boost by thinking that they're somehow turned into these absolute legends that know how to solve all the problems in adult social care by simply restructuring. It's a load of rubbish, Ben.
Jamie, I hope you cheer up for Christmas Day. It's, was it 4 days left till Christmas? 4 days left till Christmas. Tell me something good that's going on in the country right now.
I'll tell you something really good. The polls are looking amazing for Reform UK, and the best Christmas present that the people of the United Kingdom are going to have is the fact that Nigel Farage is going to be Prime Minister going forwards. We know it's going to happen.
OK, well, there's a long way to go. Yeah, Jamie McIver, thank you very much. Reform UK County Councillor. We'll catch up soon and have a Merry Christmas. Jonathan, Jamie, you couldn't hear Jamie there, but he was saying, I said, tell me something good that's going on in Britain. He said, well, Reform are leading the polls and Nigel Farage is guaranteed to be PM.
Nothing is guaranteed in this country, particularly in British politics. Obviously, Reform is doing well in the polls, there's no doubting that. And on current projections, they are set to win the next election, but that is 3 years away and anything can happen.
Second question, what is going well in the country right now? Because it's too easy to sit here and, doom and gloom. What's going well in the country? What are you proud of Britain for?
I think that London is contrary to this really bizarre campaign by the right to talk down our city. You know, I walk through London all the time, and London looks great. People are generally doing well. The art scene is thriving. Theatre, you know, is doing incredibly well. Gigs everywhere. It's a great place to be. It's a fantastic global city, and I think we should be really proud of this city, despite all the problems that we have. Of course, London's not perfect. No city is, but I think it's fantastic.
Man, hit me with something good.
Something good, and I think the royal family is a real glowing beacon of hope that we see in this country yet again in these times of doom and gloom brought on by, you know, administration that really doesn't know how to administer, let alone govern.
Well, even though the king's woke. People always complain about the king being woke.
You said it.
Well, I think it's great, personally.
I think the threat of war from Russia is going to mean Britain and Europe and the West has to rediscover its cojones and stop, you know, for decades we've just been sitting around trying to work out how to be the fattest, worst communists and how to transition our children.
The fattest communists?
Yeah, just I mean, it's quite a rare thing for communists to actually get fat, but in Britain, especially in Scotland, we actually manage it. So, yeah, I think we're actually going to have to rediscover our warrior spirit. And we're not going to be a nation of crybaby victims anymore.
That's good. What do you make about lots of people from kind of the right of the right, Tommy Robinson and so, were saying this week on X that they wouldn't fight for the UK against Russia. Get all the illegals to, first of all, fight.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think if people were asked if they wanted to sign up to the military, to go overseas and defend borders that don't exist, like Britain is a borderless economic platform, and leave their women and children at risk of grooming gangs or whatever imported, you know, rapists, cannibals or whatever that are coming in on the small boats, some Hamas guy who wants to kill all the Jews. Like, no, like, if that guy's in Britain, I'm not going overseas to fight people who are probably quite a lot like me. Yeah. I think that's a nonsense. So, yeah, I think if we could sign up and if one of the options was, do you want to be on border patrol? Do you want to go and defend our border? I think people would be like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to sign up.
Just to clarify that, if anybody wasn't aware, Leo was using a figure of speech. I don't think we have a confirmed case of a cannibal migrant just yet.
Well, there was the case of Charlene Downs, so...
was it the grooming gang?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're British. She was she chopped up in a kebab house?
Yeah, that's what the prevailing theory is.
But again, Jonathan mentioned earlier, those guys were British. They were British Pakistanis.
Pakistanis in Britain.
Jonathan,
what does that mean?
Would you go to war for the UK?
What does that mean? Were they not British citizens?
What does it mean to be British?
What does it mean? Were they not British citizens?
I think a core part of being
they
British
consider themselves to be Pakistanis in Britain.
Were they British citizens?
Oh, is that a bit of paper?
Is that what defines what a British person is?
Well, that in law, yes, actually.
I don't care about law. I mean to say what happens in real life.
Well, you're not the arbiter of who's British.
Neither are you.
No, well...
You're certainly not going to tell me if I'm British or not.
That's why we have a law that decides who's a British citizen.
And that's why it's gone so wrong.
British citizen.
And that's why it's gone so wrong in the last few decades.
Jonathan, you're just talking about laws can be unjust and can be wrong. Like, for example, this law around Palestine action. This law of a British citizen, it worked great when we had the empire and people came, subjects of the empire came to the UK and contributed and became British and worked hard. Now it's just being run.
No, it's quite simple. If you stand there in our town halls and you raise foreign flags first of all, and you sing foreign anthems and not the British one and not the British flag, then you are. Whichever foreign flag you're raising, you're that person first.
The last time I saw you here, you had a pin that had the British and Indian flags on it.
He's got it on now.
Right, okay, fine. So why are you talking? Why is that a bad thing to have? Foreign flags? How can you possibly rail against people waving foreign flags who've got a foreign flag on your lapel? I mean,
because you know what? I'm proudly British Indian. Okay. I'm blessed to be born Indian.
Right, but you literally just saying people shouldn't be flying British foreign flags, and you're flying one yourself.
No, I'm talking about people. I'm talking about Pakistanis.
Okay, so it's all right if it's an Indian flag, but not if it's a Pakistani.
Hear me out. I'm talking about Pakistanis who fly solely the Pakistani flag from our town halls. They're not flying British flags.
What is the problem of flying? You are.
What is the problem of flying the flag of another country in Britain?
I'm sorry, but this is. I find this very, very strange. You literally are wearing a foreign flag.
Because I'm Indian-born.
People say, why can't Pakistani-born people or British Pakistanis fly the Pakistani flag?
I guess in a man's defence here, he's wearing a pin badge, the UK flag and the Indian flag side by side. Okay. I guess your point, man, is that some people are flying solo the flags of their own nations.
Because I'm Indian-born. This is my heritage. This is
that's absolutely right.
Because they're born here.
Okay, sorry.
They're born here. What allegiance do they have?
Identity. This is really, really strange.
Okay, we're going to move on. Just on the case of Charlene Downs, nobody's been convicted of her murder. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, no, the case fell apart, unfortunately.
The person who was accused got off and the jury failed to reach a verdict.
Yeah.
Anyway, explaining the decision to MPs about scrapping local elections, Local Government Minister Alison McGovern has previously said many councils across the country and of all stripes have expressed anxiety about their capacity to deliver a smooth and safe transition to new councils, alongside running resource-intensive elections to councils proposed to be shortly abolished. She added, to be clear, should a council say that they have no reason to delay their elections, there will be no delay. If a council voices genuine concerns, we'll take these issues seriously and would be minded to grant a delay in those areas. gbnews.com/your say. Still ahead on The Late Show Live tonight. I will expose the training grounds turning extremists into terrorists, known as Jihadi Island. It's a great story in the Mail on Sunday tomorrow. Back in just a sec after your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, for most of us today, it's going to be a rather grey and murky day. Best of the sunshine for Northern Ireland and northwestern Scotland, with the risk of some heavier rain down towards the southwest. So sunshine is going to be in limited supply first thing this morning, but there will be some across northwestern Scotland and Northern Ireland. And as I mentioned, here's really where we're going to see the best of it during the course of the day. Elsewhere, lots of cloud around. This cloud will be thick enough in places to produce some spots of rain, especially down towards the southwest. Some of this rain will be quite heavy for a time. And on the face of it, temperatures above average for the time of year, but I think if you're stuck under the cloud, it won't feel too great if you are out and about. So into this evening, we see further rain move up from the south. Again, some of this could be heavy in places. Still relatively dry for western parts of Wales at this stage. And again, Northern Ireland hanging on to some fairly dry conditions. But elsewhere, lots of cloud around, especially eastern Scotland. Here we could see some rain moving in from time to time too. And as we go through the course of the night, really, cloud and outbreaks of rain is going to be the name of the game. Further areas of rain moving their way northwards. Again, some of this could be on the heavy side and still quite murky, especially over towards the east. Turning a little bit drier later on down towards the southeast, but could even to see a few mist and fog patches forming here as the skies begin to clear. But with the cloud and rain around, it's not going to be a cold night by any means. Most of us actually staying in mid-single figures. So Monday itself, we start off on a rather grey and damp note. Heaviest of the rain during the morning up across Scotland, but that will gradually clear its way northwards. Maybe some sunshine developing for a time across the south, but we may see further cloud return later on in the day. But with winds still coming up from the south, it's going to still be fairly mild for the time of year. Temperatures again into double figures across the south, but that won't last. As we head towards Christmas, it's set to turn colder.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live. Now, the Philippine island of Mindanao, I think that's how you pronounce it, Mindanao, is emerging as a key overseas training and transit hub for fighters linked to the Islamic State. The island's remote southern regions have long been used by Islamist groups, including factions aligned to IS, offering weapons training, bomb-making expertise and operational instruction. Security services are now warning that the area has become a low-profile alternative to Syria and Iraq for extremist training, with easier travel routes and less international scrutiny. scrutiny. And it's also reported that individuals linked to recent terror attacks in the West, including the recent one of Bondi Beach, have allegedly travelled through the southern Philippines in the weeks or months before carrying out violence at their chosen sites back home. Well, joining me now is the man behind the special investigation to do with the Philippines island, the special correspondent for the Daily Mail, David Patriakos. David, apologies, first of all, pronunciation of the island, and secondly, more pertinent, your surname, David.
That's quite all right. I'm used to it. Thanks for giving it a good old go, though.
Can you correct me, just for my own curiosity?
Yeah, Patrikarikos, and yeah, Patrikarikos, which is good, and Mindanao. I think you did that okay, actually.
I should know, David, because my family are Greek. I knew it was a Greek surname, but butchered it anyway. Just tell us, please. This was a great story in the Mail. Of course, spotlight on IS most recently because of the Bondi attacks, but it seems now that extremists are travelling to this Philippines island for their training, shunning the likes of Syria and Iraq.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially it in a nutshell. What we have to understand is that when the the ISIS caliphate collapsed or was defeated in 2019, there was this belief that ISIS had been defeated. It has not. The best way to understand this is that ISIS has gone from a physical caliphate to a global or virtual one. It's become a brand, right? Now, you don't have to, if you want to commit atrocities in the name of Islamic State, you don't need to travel to Syria, you don't need to travel to Iraq. What you can do is you can simply do it from the confines of your own fetid bedroom. It has become a brand. You can access sort of training materials, or you can go and get training in new centres of jihadist training, one of which is the Philippines. It's not a traditional jihadist route. It has been overlooked largely by security services, and we are seeing the recalibration now of global terror in the wake of the physical caliphate's collapse.
Correct me if I'm wrong, is the Philippines not majoritively Christian, sort of 70-odd% Catholic? So
Where does the
jihadi link and the Islamist link come in? Who first decided on the Philippines?
Well, there is a Muslim population of the Philippines, and in large parts it is separatist. So you have local insurgent jihadist groups, and because they are traditionally less high profile than Middle East centres of terror, they're becoming increasingly important as global terror recalibrates in the wake of the loss of the physical caliphate, in the wake of a huge amount of anti-terror focus dominating the Middle East. So we're seeing, as I say, the emerging face of global terror, and Southeast Asia and the Philippines is becoming a huge node of that.
President Trump this week launched a retaliatory attack against IS in Syria off the back of those US service members being killed. I thought, probably incorrectly, that IS had been defeated. I remember President Trump taking a victory lap some years ago. So just update us on Islamic State. Have they had a resurgence? If so, why? Or did they really never go away?
Well, look, for a start, let's think about who are exactly Islamic State, ISIS, in Syria and Iraq. They're essentially Sunni Muslims, right? So in Iraq, there are lots of people who are formerly in Saddam's army, who were put out of work by the coalition forces and decided to take up arms as Islamic State. When the Islamic State Caliphate was defeated in 2019, as I said, a lot of people just essentially, the classic figurative term is took off their uniforms and went home. They didn't even have uniforms. So you've got that. What you've also got as well, and I was in Syria very recently. I was in Syria in October, so 5-6 weeks ago, and I was in one of the camps which is filled with ISIS families. And Al-Roj and Al-Hol, I was in Al-Roj. Al-Hol is the big camp just further up the road in northeast Syria where I was. And please, let's understand that there are thousands of former ISIS fighters, I say former, who are still in those camps, who remain radicalized. The camp I was in a few weeks before the French had come to try and repatriate some of their citizens. And the citizens said, no, we don't want to come back to France. Our boy, former al-Qaeda leader al-Sharar, is now the president of Syria. The caliphate is coming back. A lot of these prison camps are mini caliphates in all but name. So we have a double threat. I repeat, first of all, ISIS is no longer a physical caliphate. It's a global brand. It is still a brand, a movement in whose name you can commit atrocities. And on the ground in Syria and Iraq, thousands of former ISIS fighters remain in prison. At some point, they're probably going to be let go, at which case there's a big problem coming our way.
Wow, as if we didn't have problems already. Just last question to you. We were discussing earlier in the show, David, you probably didn't see, about the phrase globalise the intifada, which has been a new spotlight off the back of the Bondi attacks. What does that mean to you, globalise the intifada?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things that originally starts as a bit of a semantic game, you know, like people say, well, jihad, in theory, it means a struggle. It can be your personal struggle against this and that. And I accept that intifada. Look, if you say globalise the intifada, if you talk about the intifada in the context of Israel, you are calling up the first, second, third intifadas, which were incredibly violent. So you are now talking about something specific. It is a call to violence. The fact that a lot of people don't understand what it is doesn't really matter anymore. We're reaping the benefits of it globally now. So I think when you say globalise the intifada, the people that understand and know what they're talking about and understand the history of intifadas in the Israeli context understand now that it is a call for violence. And it's certainly, and here's the point, taken as that by a hardcore minority that will and does commit violence.
OK, great stuff. Thank you very much. David, really fascinating speaking to you. Great piece. I loved it. It's on the Mail Online.
Thank you.
When was it out in the Mail, in the paper? Was it yesterday?
Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday, yeah.
OK, we can still read it online, listeners and viewers.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Special correspondent for the Daily Mail, David Patrikakos. Right, Jonathan, just on the globalised intifada, that guy there, special correspondent, pretty clued up on sort of geo-terrorism and stuff, and says that globalised intifada is a call for violence.
Well, look, obviously that's his opinion. I've said repeatedly.
Yeah, but he knows what he's talking about.
Look, David's entitled to his view, obviously, and there are many other people who offer a defence of the slogan. I have said repeatedly, I will say it again now, I do not think it is a wise slogan. I think it can be very, be widely misunderstood. I don't think it's useful because for this precise reason. But I don't think that everyone who says it is calling for violence against innocent Jews. I do not accept.
Well, isn't that because they're being useful idiots and they don't know what it means? That's the kind of the whole.
They might have different interpretations of it, Ben. I'm saying that the reason that because we're having this conversation is one of the reasons why I don't think that people should say it.
Oh, you don't think people should say it?
I don't know how many times I can say this.
I haven't heard you
it's
say
a very unwise slogan. I don't think people should say it.
Oh, sorry, I hadn't heard you say that. OK, that's great. Not long left on the show. Let's look at the front pages hitting the shelves in Blighty tomorrow. Any stories that are taking your fancy on the front page? What about this one, actually? Aman, you'd like this with your Indian heritage. A high-speed train in northern India
in Assam,
struck a herd of wild... How do you pronounce that? Asiatic
elephants, yes.
Asiatic elephants, killing 7 and injuring a calf. So 7 elephants and a calf crossing a train line. The driver saw the 100-strong herd, crossing, and they used the emergency brakes on the train, but unfortunately they still hit some elephants. 7 died. Aman, is this common in India?
On the contrary, India has around 25,000 wild Asiatic elephants, and in most places you have very dedicated elephant crossings, so to say, in these more wilder areas, certainly in the northeast. So this is a very rare occurrence in that way.
And the elephants know to use these elephant crossings, do they?
Well, they've been sort of designed in such a way that elephants sort of get corralled into these particular...
Like the ones for hedgehogs.
Pretty well, yes, just on a slightly larger scale, but yes, pretty much the same principle.
Didn't know there was ones for hedgehog.
Yeah, that's why you never run over a hedgehog.
What, on the road or the trains?
On the road.
I think I've hit a hedgehog before.
Have you?
Yeah.
They must not have them around your way. But yeah, they have the little tunnels under the road that the hedgehogs can safely cross.
Spend 200 billion quid on.
Yeah, these ones are cheaper.
A hedgehog tunnel will cost 200 million quid, to be fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. Great Britain.
I'm more worried about this Jihadi Island. This is terrifying.
Jihadi Island in the Philippines.
Yeah, it's a remake of Love Island, but you actually get to slaughter the bride in a stadium in Afghanistan afterwards. This is terrifying. And what's terrifying about it is we've also got them in Britain. If you're a jihadi in the UK, you don't even need to. Yeah, we've got training camps. There's a spiritual warrior project in the Peak District, and if you go back to Abu Hamza's days, he was training people in the Brecon Beacons. So you're just out for a nice hike, you got your flask and your Kendal mint cake, and there's...
Don't forget the flag.
Yeah, they've got the ISIS flag. I think it's terrifying that people in the UK don't even need to leave the UK to attend an Islamist military training camp.
I'm surprised they trained in the Brecon Beacons because the SAS, the regiment, trained there, don't they?
Probably different days.
Well, David was just pointing out that people can train from their own bedrooms. So this is the worrying thing.
OK, one more quick story. Could your festive sing-along be under threat this Christmas? Actually, this was a story about Labour's employment rights bill, which passed this week. Pub landlords have now been... they've got a legal duty to prevent harassment by third parties over things like race, religion, sexual orientation and age. That means your favourite Christmas tunes from Baby It's Cold Outside to Do They Know It's Christmas? And even Jingle Bells could be considered off limits. I think this is a ridiculous story. I want to ask you your favourite Christmas tune, more personally, Jonathan.
Fairy Tale of New York.
The censored version or the old one?
Cheap and you're haggard.
Leave it at that.
For me, I think it'll be more for him, which chimes in very much with Diwali as well as Christmas, which is Abide With Me. And I think it's a real hymn that brings
Beautiful.
Light into darkness.
Yeah, love that. Leo, you got a favourite Christmas tune?
Cliff Richard, Mistletoe and Wine.
My God.
Really?
love the video.
It's the embarrassing thing I've heard in 2 hours on this programme.
It's the dance. It's the dance he does. It's so catchy. You can't help just starting doing it in front of that fire. Well, maybe not a fire, the radiator.
Mine's quite controversial. It's a fairly new one. Ed Sheeran and Elton John. It's Christmas time for you and I. We'll have a good time and a Merry Christmas. No? OK.
It's great.
Right. Well,
we know it.
On that note, the government has said on the story about the Employment Rights Act and banning Christmas tunes, they've said this story is absolute rubbish. The Employment Rights Act will not affect anyone's right to lawful free speech, and people will still be able to enjoy their favourite Christmas carols. And Jonathan, you were saying there's a story every year about Christmas being cancelled by some cohort.
And it never is.
No.
Well, they said that in Lebanon. They said that in Syria. They said that in Afghanistan.
Oh my goodness!
They said that in Saudi Arabia.
In Britain, it's never. It hasn't
it hasn't happened here yet. It happened in lots of other places.
Hasn't happened since 1646 or something, when Oliver
could still go to church then.
Vicky Sharp on your say. Hello, Vicky. Good evening. Hope you're well. Thank you for your company again. You said my favourite is Fairy Tale of New York, and Jamie said to a radical socialist, globalise the intifada means global socialist revolution. Panel, thank you, Jonathan, Aman, Leo. Thank you, viewers back home. I'm back tomorrow night from midnight. Sweet dreams, and I'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, I've got 2 more shows: Monday night, Tuesday night, then the Late Show Live is back in January. But we've still got some fun to go between now and then. I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy your Sunday. Good night.
Very good.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Well, for most of us today, it's going to be a rather grey and murky day. Best of the sunshine for Northern Ireland and northwestern Scotland, with the risk of some heavier rain down towards the southwest. So sunshine is going to be in limited supply first thing this morning, but there will be some across northwestern Scotland and Northern Ireland. And as I mentioned, here's really where we're going to see the best of it during the course of the day. Elsewhere, lots of cloud around. This cloud will be thick enough in places to produce some spots of rain, especially down towards the southwest. Some of this rain will be quite heavy for a time. And on the face of it, temperatures above average for the time of year, but I think if you're stuck under the cloud, it won't feel too great if you are out and about. So into this evening, we see further rain move up from the south. Again, some of this could be heavy in places. Still relatively dry for western parts of Wales at this stage. And again, Northern Ireland hanging on to some fairly dry conditions. But elsewhere, lots of cloud around, especially eastern Scotland. Here we could see some rain moving in from time to time too. And as we go through the course of the night, really, cloud and outbreaks of rain is going to be the name of the game. Further areas of rain moving their way northwards. Again, some of this could be on the heavy side and still quite murky, especially over towards the east. Turning a little bit drier later on down towards the southeast, but could even to see a few mist and fog patches forming here as the skies begin to clear. But with the cloud and rain around, it's not going to be a cold night by any means. Most of us actually staying in mid-single figures. So Monday itself, we start off on a rather grey and damp note. Heaviest of the rain during the morning up across Scotland, but that will gradually clear its way northwards. Maybe some sunshine developing for a time across the south, but we may see further cloud return later on in the day. But with winds still coming up from the south, it's going to still be fairly mild for the time of year. Temperatures again into double figures across the south, but that won't last. As we head towards Christmas, it's set to turn colder.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?